Hey guys, Jay here, and today I want to talk about Herald of Agony, the fallback plan that I thought about, one of the, brainstormed idea that I got in preparation for the probably nerfed uh, detonate data chain reaction, right? So this build, cast when stun tank character, from the first time that I have used it, has always been carried heavily in terms of damage by the detonate data chain reaction. And with the popularity of the cast on crit detonate data chain reaction character last league, probably the skill is not going to survive this patch. I'm not sure how much it will be nerfed, but I'm pretty sure it will be nerfed to some degree, right? So they might nerf Lancing Steel. I hope they do, because Lancing Steel is obviously, you know, a more obvious problem than the detonate data chain reaction in terms of the meta from last league, because to me the two stand out like top tier builds beside the expensive bow character last league is cast on crit detonated chain reaction using Lancing Steel as the proc skill, and then the second one is the Holy Relic, which also use Lancing Steel as the proc skill. The problem is you don't need to actually invest into any attack speed in order to get the proc rate, like maximum proc rate with Lancing Steel. So yeah, maybe, hopefully from my side, detonate data chain reaction is not going to be nerfed, but we need to prepare for the worst, right? The video has been going on for a while already. I believe it's more than 2 minutes, and you can see the fight on the screen is still going on. This is on. This is just me single damage testing on this character, and it's laughable at this point, right? Granted that the setup is a little bit scuffed. I mean, I can get double this amount of damage, but to kill a omniphobia and it take this long is kind of pathetic, right? So the setup that I wanted, by the way, I would stack a bunch of pure agony jewel, and if you don't know what this does, basically what we care about is +5 maximum virulence. Virulence is the stack that comes with Herald of Agony. By default, it is 40 stack. With 20% quality, it goes to 45 stack, right? So you can see here, I am having Herald of Agony. Where is it? Here, Herald of Agony. 21, 23 at the moment. We can obviously push the level of the gems much higher. This is a very scuffed setup again, but we can, by my estimation, get around double the amount of damage that we get. And from the current damage, as you can see, that I just showed on the screen while I was talking, it is it's not high enough. Basically, it is very hard to maintain the stacks on single bossing target. And Omniphobia is something that already hit you more than Kosis. Kosis have phases where he like entirely doesn't do anything to your character in terms of hits. And so if we keep this kind of character, if we don't have any like groundbreaking changes to the setup, we don't have any additional skill that can hit the monsters for roughly, I need 50 times per second, then then we cannot do anything. It's not gonna be good, right? And another twist here. This is not even wave 30. This is just wave 13. I just if we comes to wave 30 at this rate with this current character, we probably need like 30 minutes to kill just Omniphobia, and maybe an hour if we just sit there try to kill Kosis. So yeah, it's not looking good. This seems good, but it's not looking good. The scaling for the Herald of Agony, as you can see here, with this current level 23 gem, we have 5% attack speed and 10% increased physical damage, and then a lot of added physical damage per virulence. We have on single target, on Omniphobia there, I have like 30, somewhere from 35 to 40 stacks only. I cannot sustain the maximum amount that I can have right now, which is 70. So yeah, if we change the setup a little bit, if we actually use better skill, right now I am just having Tornado, Penance Brand, which is actually not a good skill here. I probably should have like Firestorm Pelting here. Should be a very good skill. It hits a bunch of time, like Ball Lightning or Ball Lightning of Orbiting of some sort, things that hit more times. So by my estimation, we can actually get to around 70-80 stacks if we properly set up for the skill. That is not going to be enough. I mean, I tried self-cast Ball Lightning and have like 60 stack. The damage doesn't feel that much different. I'm not sure why, right? So this is not probably a good setup for this cast when stun character. I mean, we can easily scale the damage further, but from this point, even if we have like 3 times this amount of damage, it still probably take like 10 minutes to just kill Kosis. Maybe we cannot even break the actual ES of Kosis whenever he's channeling. So this is not looking good, right? What else do I still have in store to test? So there are 2 more things that I want to test out, but those 2 will actually require me to get not a... This one is a Juggernaut, the Juggernaut that I have. The other 2 ideas that I'm having will require me to actually level up a duelist, and then I get the champion, because the next 2 ideas both involve minions, and they are not like Herald of Agony. The Herald of Agony is an immortal and untargetable minion, so you know all the damage from the enemies will still focus your character. That is essential for a cast when stun character to function. So if you have a bunch of damageable minions nearby, right? So if the enemies, instead of focusing on you, they focus on the minions, it will just be like counter interact between the setup, basically, just within the setup. So why do we want a duelist? Let me actually bring up a quick thing over here, right? I don't want to open POB. It's not necessary, but the thing that we want here is this node. So champion is a very tanky ascendancy, which suit the theme of the build, right? So we can simply just take 42. This is impossible to get otherwise for, you know, non-melee build at this point, right? So yeah, 42, super strong defensively, but more importantly, if we are a champion, we can have access to Conqueror. Conqueror here, you have 100% chance to taunt on hit. Why is that important? Because as you see, we, you know, proc the spells and everything, all of the spells that hit very rapidly when stunned, when we are attacked. And those spells can actually taunt on hit as well. It's not necessarily has to be an attack to taunt an enemy. The spell can do it. And yeah, it will make all the enemies focus our character, basically, because the spells we cast goes everywhere. And of course, we have some more damage that actually applies to minion here. Worthy Foe here makes the taunted enemies take 20% increased damage, which works for minion. It's just something that is on the enemy, not, you know, specifically to your character. So this is going to be a pretty good ascendancy. And yeah, it's synergy with the things that I want to test a little bit later. After this one, I probably have to spend some time to level up the duelist to probably at least level 90, and then we can test those out. What do I want to test out? So there are two different skill setup for damage that I want to test out. The first thing is the animate weapon. The reason why I choose animate weapon is animate weapon is also quite easy to scale, right? It does have a respectable amount of damage from what I see, and the animate weapon have a very long duration, a 40-second by default. I'm looking at the animate weapon of range or something of that name. You know, it summon bows instead of daggers. So it shoot enemies instead of stab enemies. And that is very good for coverage. We want the minion, the 40-second duration of animate weapon is important because we can use the fresh meat support. Flashbang warning. Still got yo. I know. Well, we can use fresh meat, which is a very strong support. Fresh meat grant up to a lot of crit and a lot of crit damage for 10% of the duration of the minion. And because the animate weapon has a very long duration of 40 seconds, 10% of it is 4 seconds. That 4 seconds is coincidentally the same amount of time recently is in POE. And we have a Blessed Rebirth. Yep. Another flashbang. Oh, let's just do the fandom here, right? Minions created recently cannot be damaged. So when the animate weapon are summoned, they will have a period of 4 seconds that they have all the damage from this buff of the fresh meat support, and then also they will have that 4 seconds applied to being immortal, basically. And yeah, they can do all the damage. And after that, they either are going to be killed by the enemies quite quickly because we do not scale defense on those minions. They are very squishy. Or we just resummon them because we proc another round of cast when stun, basically. Because we are still taunting the enemies, right? So I think that can potentially be something good enough to try out. The next thing, probably not going to be as promising mathematically, but it is around the Dark Pact and Skeleton. Right? Dark Pact is a skill that deals chaos damage. It has a component that it will sacrifice 8% of skeleton life to deal that much chaos damage. And it will chain if it is cast on skeletons. So my idea is I'm going to summon the skeletons, right? With cast with stun, obviously. And then I'm also proccing Dark Pact. And it would chain around the skeletons. This is going to be way more convenient than self-casting. The damage, from what I see from Gazi's build on Dark Pact, looks very respectable. So I think this can potentially be enough damage. I will not be sure unless I try it out myself, just like what I did with the Herald of Agony earlier. Sadly, Herald of Agony didn't work out, so hopefully this one or the animate weapon will work out. So we have like fallback plan for detonated chain reaction, basically. Right, so this is going to be potentially good because we can scale the life of the skeleton for damage, basically. And skeleton can be linked to minion life, like empower for more life, get the level of that gem to higher. We don't care about level of Dark Pact actually, because it will always just sacrifice that much life. Maybe we can even link Dark Pact to like enhance for more quality, because if you see here, the quality on the Dark Pack is actually sacrificing more life on the skeleton in order to deal more damage, basically. So yeah, maybe this can be potent. I am not sure until I actually tried it out. And obviously I will try it out and I will let you guys know the result. All right. So yeah, that seems to be it. I mean, I'm kind of sad, right? This is a little bit of rant on Herald Agony. I'm kind of sad that it didn't work out well enough. I had high expectation for it. Maybe I will still try to find a way to make it work, because maybe I think the limitation here is I'm trying to scale the virulent stack, because it looks very promising in terms of number. It gives you attack speed, increased damage, and also a lot of flat damage, by the way. So I think that can be a good way to scale the damage of the Herald Agony, but apparently we cannot reach that many virulent stack easily with the current setup that we are having. So what can I actually try? I am having an idea of using Heartbound Loop, right? So this ring here, you take physical damage on minion death, and we can potentially set up a cast when damage taken loop with a bunch of minion skill. Basically, we would not be able to do it with one single skill while still being tanky. So what I think is we probably should get like cast when damage taken linked to first of all, raise zombie of falling. So the zombie fall down, it immediately die, and it will trigger the cast the Heartbound Loop. But we also kind of need to get like summon raging spirit, or you know, just other minions as well, and then some way somehow make them die like repeatedly. Maybe we need to link them to Inferno Legion to drain the health, and then they will die. The main thing about that is normally for loop build, right? Builds that are wood loop or cast when damage taken, you kind of need to not mitigate the physical damage taken, because you want to reach a threshold to cast a high level spell so you can have a good amount of damage, because spells are scaling with levels very heavily, right? But in this case, because the spell that actually is dealing the damage, or the skill to be correct, that is dealing the damage is Herald of Agony, it is not directly triggered from the cast when damage taken, so we can still be tanky, because all that we need is just to trigger a bunch of level 1 spell. We don't need more, we don't need anything more than level 1. The level 1 spell can still apply a stack of poison, which is everything that we care about, because each poison applied gives us 1 virulent stack, and it will buff up the Arrow of Agony. So maybe that can be potent. Hopefully it is. If it is, right, we want to mitigate as much damage taken as possible. So if, let's just say we mitigate 90% of the damage taken here, we take like 40 damage, 41, maybe 42 damage. 1 second. Let me go to grab a level 1 cast when damage taken. I think a level 1 cast when damage taken here is when you take 528 total damage. If we reduce that by 10%, that is 456, roughly 456 damage, which means we kind of need like 11 minions die in order to actually trigger it once. But we can also slot in the Forbidden Rite, right? Let me see here. Forbidden Rite. if we socket in this skill, we will take 40% of maximum life as chaos damage. We are not having energy shield, so the energy shield part doesn't matter, but we are taking 25%, 40% more life, which is a huge amount, by the way. Normally, if on Castle Damage Taken build, you kind of want to reach a threshold of taking like a few thousand damage. Like, I think it was 3,000 something damage in order to trigger a level 21 or 20 or 20 spell, right? Sorry, guys. Sorry, man. But in this case, we can actually mitigate that damage to the fullest. And what I mean by that is normally in word loop build, right? If you rely on Forbidden Right to do a bunch of chaos damage to your character in order to trigger a high level spells, you do not want to have cap on chaos resistant. But in this case, we can, because we don't need to take that much damage anyway. If we mitigate the chaos damage taken by 75% through resistances, that means we only take, in this case, I have like more than 4,000, right? 4,300. So we will take 40%, 25%, or 40% is 10%. So we will take 430 damage. So that, along with the damage from the minion dying, is going able to be enough to trigger a loop. And yeah, maybe just Zombie of Falling and Forbidden Right level 1 both can trigger a loop. And yeah, if that is the case, we potentially can trigger a loop, and we can from that have a more consistent prog rate, basically, right? I don't think that it's going to be too hard to figure out, because literally I tried to look into word loop before. The thing that is holding me back from actually doing a word loop is I realized that we actually have to forego like a physical or chaos mitigation, which is not good in my opinion. I want to be tanky. I want to be tanking a lot of shit in the game, and so I want to keep the mitigation on all types of damage. And because Herald of Agony, the way it worked, it kind of enabled the ability to just trigger level 1 spells and get full damage. Basically, that is what I'm looking at here, right? So yeah, hopefully it will work out. I will continue testing. I will be continuous testing, and I will let you guys know the results. And yeah, that is it for this video. So if you like this content, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It does helping me out greatly. A little bit of a personal rant here. I am not going through a good period, I guess. Not that I am having a period, straight man, right? But I'm born a straight man, so I don't have a period. But this is a period of time that I am not doing very well overall in real life. It is a little bit depressing. I tried my best to not letting it get into anything else, but you know, it is what it is, right? Have to deal with it, have to face it some way, somehow, you know. Yeah, anyway, just want to let it out a little bit, and please like, subscribe. Currently, that is the best way to support me. Also have a bunch of links to like stream. Right now I'm not streaming mostly, but probably I will be regularly on League Star. Given that I probably will still be jobless, right? So everything work out even when it doesn't work out. Peace. Hope everyone is having a wonderful time.